Namaskar, I am Sulabh Nalvaya from Jaipur Engineering College Kukas, Department of Mechanical Engineering. In previous video, I have discussed on basic of process planning and the route sheet, the process planning of the parts. In this video, I will discuss on the basic process of any process planning and the process planning of for assembly of the product. So these are the basic processes and the sequence of the basic processes are shown on this figure. There are four type of processes. First is basic process, second is secondary process, third is property enhancing process, and fourth one is finishing operation. Basic process is the very basic process or very basic manufacturing operation of any part to get the primary dimensions of the part. Secondary process is help to get the final geometry, and it is not necessary that all basic process have the secondary process. After secondary process, the third one is the property enhancing process. Heat treatment process is the example of property enhancing process in which we enhance the mechanical property of the component. And final is the finishing operation, which include polishing or coating of the part. It is not necessary that after secondary process property enhancing process will be there. In many cases, the finishing operation is directly after the secondary process, and in many cases the property enhancing process is required again a secondary process. In this sequence, finally we get the finished part from the raw material. So this is the basic typical sequence of process required in the part fabrication. So these are the four basic process. First is the basic process, which determine the starting geometry of the work part, just like metal casting, plastic molding, rolling of the sheet. If we take an example of the rolling of the sheet, so the uh, secondary operation, basic operation is the rolling, and secondary operation like punching or bending may be the secondary process. Next is the after getting product after the basic operation, we get the shape in two categories. First is net shape process and another is near net shape process. The net shape process is the process for which secondary operation is not required, and near net shape process is the process for which secondary operation is required to get the final geometry. Operations to enhance the property do not alter the geometry of the part. So third operation is property enhancing process, and heat treatment operation is the example for that. Final process is the finishing operation, in which uh, electroplating or painting or coating of the product is done. In this slide, there are the examples of the all four basic process. Like first example is sand casting. So sand casting is the basic process, and Secondary process for the sand casting is machining process, and the raw material or starting material is for sand casting. Final shape after machining is the machine part. Third operation, property enhancing process, is not required in sand casting, and final finishing product process is the painting process. Likewise, other examples are given which include basic process, secondary process, property enhancing process, and finishing process. In addition to the root sheet, a more detailed description of each operation is usually prepared. This is filed in the particular production department office where the operation is performed. It lists specific details of the operation such as cutting condition and tooling and other instructions that may be useful to the machine operator. Now, process planning for assembly. The type of assembly method used for a given product depend on the factor like anticipated production quantity, complexity of the assembly of the product, and assembly process used. For a product that is to be made in relatively small quantity, the product assembled at the workplace and is assembled by one worker or a team of worker. For complex product made in medium or high quantity, assembly is usually performed on manual assembly line. There is an assembly line on which the product is assembled. For simple product to be made in large quantity, automated assembly systems are appropriated. For low production quantity, the entire assembly is completed at a single station, and for high production, assembly line is required. And again, there is a term line balancing which is associated with the assembly line process. Now, next topic is the make or buy decision. In previous video, we have discussed that some part we have to purchased from outside vendors, and many parts we manufactured in our organization. So which part we should make and which part we should buy, it is a decision which will taken by the management or by the planner. So make or buy decision is an important question that arises in process planning, is whether a given part should be produced in the company's own factory or purchased from an outside vendor. And the answer to the question is known as the make or buy decision. In many cases, the part could either be made internally using existing equipment, or it could be purchased externally from the vendor that possesses similar manufacturing capabilities. In our discussion of the make or buy decision, it should be recognized at the outset that nearly all manufacturers buy their raw material from the suppliers. A machine shop purchases its starting bar stocks for a metal distributor and its sand casting from a foundry, plastic molding plant by its molding component from the chemical company, etc. Now, these are the factors, or there are some questions that shows us that if we buy the product, buy the part, or we manufacture the part. So first is, how do part cost compare? In this, we compare the purchasing decision and as well as the manufacturing decision on the basis of the cost involved in it. Next factor is the process available in house. We should check that to manufacture or to produce the particular parts, we have the equipments to manufacture that particular parts or not. This is the important question. What is the total production quantity? This is another important question, that the production quantity. If the production quantity is beyond the capacity of our plant, then we should preferably choose the buying decision. Next question is, what is the anticipate product life? If the longer product life tends to the favor to make decision, and if there is a shorter product life, then we can buy the particular parts. Next question is the component a standard item or not? If there is a standard item, then we should definitely purchase that item to the vendors. We should also check the reliability of the supplier. So the next question is the supplier reliable or not? Next is the company's plant already operating at full capacity? If our plant is running on the full capacity, then it is benefited to purchase the parts from the vendor. And the last question is, does the company need an alternative supply source or not? If our vendor will not fulfill the demand, then we should think about the alternative supply source. So these are some questions. On basis of these questions, we can decide whether we will buy some parts or make in-house in the factory. Thank you.